Hello, and welcome to the 2022 free-to-play Bounty Hunter Farming Guide for Galaxy of Heroes, and I'm prefacing this for new players. And I specify new because I've been playing this game for 8 months, and that's kind of what I know, that's kind of what I know about the getting being a free-to-play and kind of getting early levels and how it feels, because I've probably played through I always played on two accounts. Always my main, and then I would always have a second account. And I cycled through different second accounts that I would make, and I probably played through it. I probably have played on a total of 6 accounts, and probably the lowest I've gotten any of them was probably level 50. So just unlocking mods. When I started to play the game, everyone would say the same thing to me. They would say, "Go Phoenix, go Geos, go this, that, or the other thing," and none of it was go Bounty Hunters. Bounty Hunters was always for late game, and I was like, "Why am I playing this game if I can't have fun with it right now? Why am I wasting my time?" And since I started playing, there has been several changes that has made bounty hunters more and more viable as a starting position. The Razor Crest becoming able to be farmed in the fleet store, which you just buy it there. They released Chrysanthemum, who, if Chrysanthemum has an early node in the game, like sub-level 40, probably level like 24 would be like perfect. On top of that, they're also releasing Jabba the Hutt, as I have here. This guide, because I had in mind only knowing the beginning requirements, because this isn't a Jabba rush. This isn't a rush for the Executor, although it's none of those. What it is trying to build bounty hunter teams that lead into future journey guide characters, and build into strong fleets. Well, obviously bounty hunters have strong fleets, but also builds into a good Grand Arena roster. So if you don't want to go through the whole video, here's a good TLDR. Focus on farming bounty hunter pilots. Basically, if you just did that and farm their ships as soon as possible, you would be very successful in fleet. Farm Beskar Mando prep units early, and so that you can get the farm the Razor Crest as soon as possible. And those units are just really good. Home 1 is your capital ship. Home 1 is probably the best starting capital ship in general. After Beskar Mando and Chewbacca, because you can get them through bounty hunters, build out your roster or go for Executor. If you care about a Grand Arena, build up your roster. And if you don't care about Grand Arena, you're making enough crystals in fleet for you, and you want to also you're okay with grinding for something for months and months and months and not being able to build and gear up any other teams, then go for the Executor, because it's probably the best fleet in the game. And with that being said, we can move on. So you should follow this guide if you understand this is not the most optimal guide to dominate in Grand Arena. But I thought you just said that you have two options branching from a point where, yes, right? But this is still not going to be the best guide for Grand Arena. One of the reasons is I'm a newer player. I've been playing this game for less than a year, so I'm not going to have all the experience to tell you guys exactly how to climb in Grand Arena. When I got to level 85, I started Carbonite 4, and I've gotten up to Bronzium 4 recently. Like that's my progression, you know? So if you're okay with that, cool. And you're kind of just here for more a farm path and a guide that's a little more balanced on fun, your love for bounty hunters, and a good fleet, then this is a good place for you. If you're brand new, this is probably an excellent place to start, because I'm going to show you bounty hunter teams that aren't as powerful, but they're very efficient. And so you only have to farm a few bounty hunters to unlock a variety of units and to be successful in a variety of different game modes. If you're already 1 mil GP, level 85, 2 mil GP, focus on building those really good meta bounty hunter teams, or just those strong bounty hunters in general. Fennec Shand, for instance, because Fennec Shand's not going to be used for unlocking anyone, which more new players probably need to worry about more, but she's just insanely good with Bossk. And if you love bounty hunters, this is a farm guide that you should follow. So starting off, your first bounty hunter team is going to be Boba Fett, Mandalorian, IG-88, Grief, and IG-11. So the reason I chose these characters was, one, because they're very easy to get early game. When I started playing the game, I wanted to get bounty hunters as soon as possible, ASAP, just immediately. I didn't want to wait, I wanted to have them now. And so this is trying to give you that, so that you don't fall into a trap where you wait to get the good bounty hunters, and by the time you get there, you're so burnt out you just hate the game. Boba is available in a Dark Side level 12 node, Dark Side 2B, and Cantina, which is unlocked at level 8, so you can just buy him in Cantina. Be easily one of your first 7-star units, easily. The Mandalorian, level 12, dark side as well. Squad store for IG-88, level 28. That will probably take you a few days if you use all your energy. And then you have Grief and IG-11 available level 1. Light side, 3B. They're very easy and fast to get, so it fulfills that need for bounty hunters, right? And I imagine most people, their favorite bounty hunters are Boba Fett and the Mandalorian. So this is going to give you those two favorite bounty hunters that you have, right? But it's also an extremely good team in general, especially in the early game. Here I put some of the buffs these units have and some of the different synergies they have. So for instance, IG-88 doesn't get a crit damage up buff. That's just a passive he has. He just has increased critical damage. The Mandalorian does give crit chance up. The Mandalorian also has Bounty Hunter's Resolve, which allows them to revive, and they also have special things like Boba Fett, I think, gets protection back or all his health back when he gets it, and may have more health. And so there's different unique passives there. Grief heals your team, which is very important for Galactic War, and early game healing is really, really good. And also applies as a mass assist that does massive damage because your whole team that does a lot of damage is going to target that unit. Applies amazing buffs. On top of that, IG-11 has taunt and healing as well. Since we don't know which node Chrysanthemum is, I'm suggesting you go for IG-11. And honestly, I would probably suggest going for IG-11 even if Chrysanthemum has an easy node to get early game, because you can use him later for a different team. Is just a very solid tank, and you'll need him for Beskar Armor Mando later on, and him and Queel are just amazing combination units together that you'll use throughout the lifespan of your account, right? So he's not a wasted unit. All these units here you will use for the rest of your account. You will not drop them like Phoenix. These are amazing units you pick up early, and on top of that, Boba Fett has a leadership ability that's very good early and not as good later into the game when you have access to more bounty hunter leads. So what is it? All allies gain crit damage at upwards of 50%, and then at level 8 you get 10% crit chance. And then you also get speed 15 for each debuffed enemy, which comes from Boba Fett, basic, AoE, ability block, IG-88, target lock, grief, and healing immunity, and grief has daze on his basic. You also gain health equal to total potency of all bounty hunters, so it gives you a little bit of tankiness, which is nice since you have 4 bounty hunters, now 5, but you don't need 5 bounty hunters because you have IG-11 to tank for you, so you'll be fine. Defeat the first enemy that takes a turn. That's very easy to do early game, especially because you can get around taunts with Boba Fett and the Mandalorian, even destroying taunts with Execute or Grief's Mass Assist. It won't be that hard to hack a unit that's behind taunts, like a Phoenix unit, Hera that's behind taunts, a CLS requirement team like Luke or Leia that's behind taunts, or Lando. So it won't be that bad. And then you gain tenacity, which it is okay. What really matters is just you can get your payout fast early game. And if you don't like that one because you don't like the reward, instead you could go for the Mandalorian's lead, which is Scoundrel allies have 20 speed, 35% tenacity, and 30% crit chance. So if you want IG-11 to also get some stats, because, well, that's more useful to him, such as the speed and tenacity, he doesn't really need the crit damage. And you want more consistent damage because you want more crit chance, go for this. Wild buff scored 20 critical hits. Very slow to get, but you have a lot of buffs on your team. And Bounty Hunter's Resolve counts as a buff, so Boba and Mandalorian will always be able to proc the contract whenever they get a critical hit. And then you gain offense and Hellsteel for each buffed ally, so it could be upwards of 20% offense and Hellsteel, which will be pretty easy to always have that 20% up because there's so many buffs on this team. So it's up to you. It's whether you want to get the contract faster, or if you want to, and if that crit damage is really what's going to help you, or if you just want to have that extra speed. I would probably actually use the Mandalorian's contract until you unlock Disintegrate, and once you unlock Disintegrate, probably use Boba Fett's contract if you can easily kill the first enemy that takes a turn. And another thing about this team that's really good is that Boba Fett and IG-88 are both pilots, and the core of your fleet is going to be bounty hunter ships. So you can unlock the Slave one at level 65 with the Fleet Battle node, and you can also farm it in the Fleet Store. Also on top of that, you can start farming the IG-2000 actually before you even unlock Fleet Arena at level 60. You can farm it at level 54. And this is why I chose IG-88 over Cad Bane. Cad Bane's ship is able to be farmed later into the game, I think level 70-ish. So I wanted to give you a bounty hunter that's going to be, you're going to have their ship faster if you're free to play completely. So once you 7-star that team, join a guild that does the heroic pit raid often so you can get Han Solo as soon as possible, because you will be using Han Solo in your Beskar armor team. So the next team that you'll work for is the Beskar armor Mando requirement units, and you already have 3 of them 7-starred and built. So once you hit level 49, just start farming these units, and you'll also be farming the Imperial TIE Bomber, which is used for the Executor later, so it's just beautiful. So it's so efficiency, amazing. So this is what your Beskar armor team is going to look like, and it's going to take a while for you to get to this point where you have Han Solo and Chewbacca 7-stars. While you're working on Han Solo and Chewie, you can just use Cara Dune in there and another scoundrel ally that you have lying around. As you level up, focus on farming these characters, because these characters will be very good for different use cases. So for instance, Cad Bane is going to be good for the Zandu Blood, which is available at level 74. And it's just a core, it's an essential part of the bounty hunter team. You just want all the bounty hunter ships. Cad Bane will be used in the Hutt Cartel for a Hutt Cartel team, which will be needed for Jabba later on. And Cad Bane is fast and easy to 7-star through the Galactic War Store, and you should be easily getting that Galactic War tokens through your core starter team. So Bossk is so important to bounty hunters because of his ship and his lead ability. And he's just probably one of the best tanks in the game. Just his whole kit it's just everything. The Houndstooth is like the core of like almost every good fleet, essentially. And when you have to have multiple fleets and you can't use the Houndstooth on every single one of them, then it's like, you're like, oh man, I wish I could have the Houndstooth right here. So I have to have this other tank that's just like, pales in comparison. So it's the best tank ship in the game. Amazing node, because that node also drops Jango shards, so you'll easily get Jango 7-stars, and Jango's an amazing bounty hunter. And it's needed for the Executor later. Bossk's leadership ability gives bounty hunters upwards of plus 50% protection, 100% defense when they're at max health, so because you have so much protection, you'll be max health. Then it's damage the weakest enemy for a contract 10 times, which is super easy to do with mass assists, and then you get rewarded with 50 speed, which is insane. So you can easily get disintegration and have a shit ton of speed. Makes the Chewie event easy because he's a great tank. I mean, his one of his abilities is he just like, and I think it's his contract award where he just heals protection and health whenever he gets damaged and whenever he starts a turn or whenever there's all these different things where it's like, if this happens, he heals. If this is blank. Also taunts. Yeah, it's just amazing for his whole kit. And for Jango, you'll already have him 7-stars in farming the Houndstooth, so why not just use him and just save energy, so that you can have it for just gearing up your units and just creating an amazing fleet. Because as your roster develops and you create more than one bounty hunter team, you'll have to use different leads. Jango is an also amazing lead, just plus 30% speed for all allies, for all scoundrel allies. So just imagine they just get another arrow for free, or their arrow primary is just doubled to 60. Insane damage, where it's just great AoE damage, deals more damage based on debuffs, and so this is an example of one of the teams that you'll be working towards after you are kind of unlocking the Bossk node and Jango node. So you'll put Bossk in there and Jango. This is also just a really good team. You're also gonna want to farm the Hutt Cartel team and so Boba Fett's gonna be your lead there. And Cad Bane, pilot, you're going to have, you're going to want to put him somewhere. So why not put him here where he can be used? Greedo, not the best, easy to farm, pretty cheap to gear, is used for Jabba later on. So let's get some use out of him now. Gamorrean Guard, used for Jabba later. Not a priority. If you want to put something else in here, go ahead. And then Chrysanthemum has a really good pre-taunt, has a good revive, and it's just very tanky. And I put Omicron makes him because I kind of just like forgot what the which part the Omicron covers, because he has just so much in his kit that's if everyone's Hutt Cartel, it just does insane shit. Show you what your fleet, I shouldn't say is at this point, but what you're aiming at your fleet to be, right? And whenever you unlock a node to farm one of these ships or ability to farm one of these ships, you should just start farming it. So you have the Houndstooth, IG-2000, Zandu Blood, Slave 1, TIE Bomber, and the Millennium Falcon if you can do the event. and home 1 is your capital ship, because the assisting is really going to help with the breach, because breach is a kind of core feature of bounty hunter fleet where it makes your opponent have less speed. At a certain point, when you unlock the Xandu Blood's like level 8 ability on one of his abilities, you do true damage to breached enemy. So it's really good to get an assist, to have the Xandu Blood assist. IG 2000 does more damage to a breached enemy. So it's really nice to have the home 1 for that assisting feature and for healing and protection. So at this point, you have 2 choices, and this is what I referred to in the TLDR. At this point, you can go for the Executor, or you could go for bounty hunter collecting, as I put it, or roster development. And they're kind of both one and the same. Because if you're like me and you want every bounty hunter, you're basically going to farm a bunch of units that aren't used for Journey Guide characters or GL rush. So you're going to be, developing your roster. So let's talk about the Executor route first. This is for players trying to get sub 20, really sub 10 in Fleet Arena, okay? And I'm already there and I'm going for it, and I hope to get rank 1, basically, every day. But also, I'm wondering if I even needed to go with the Executor to stay sub 10. Who knows? It will take a long time. I'm trying to give you these disclaimers if you go for this. Like, I'm doing it, and I kind of regret it. It takes so long. It is draining the fun out of this game for me. You have to relic and gear these units that are like Dengar and IG-88, where you're like, I really wish I could just gear Chrysanthemum or Aura Singh or Jango or any other fun bounty hunter, but no, I gotta gear these units to get the Relic 13. Like, it takes a long time. And also, you'll have a few very strong units, and you'll have some that are severely undergeared. So, like, for me, it's always a struggle of, like, okay, I have this 5 bounty hunters that are relicked, and then everyone else is gear 9, 10, and 11, and you're just like, fuck, how do I make this work every time, And if you lose one team, it doesn't matter as much in Carbonite, because you have, it's 3v3, but I mean, I was literally like struggling to find a third team for defense. It's very high risk, high reward situation, and very stressful. Yeah, so it's if you don't really care about Grand Arena as much, do this. So this is what you need to unlock it. It's all these units. So for instance, you need Boba Fett and Piet to Relic 8, very expensive. Vader, I think, is Relic 7. Fighter Pilot, Bossk, IG-80, and Dengar need to get to Relic 5. So it's not like crazy, but it's still a huge dedication to even get to gear 13 for units. You'll also need all of these ships 7 stars, and you already have Beskar Armor Mando, so you can go for this if you want to. You're going to be farming the Razor Crest, but the Razor Crest is going to take a long time to farm. All your bounty hunter ships you're already farming anyway, and you don't need the Xandu Blood here, but you're going to want to farm for the Xandu Blood for Fleet Arena. Then you also need a 7-star capital ship. Now, the alternative is focusing on collecting bounty hunter units that are just the rest of the bounty hunter units that you want, and building up some teams for Grand Arena. So I put 3 bounty hunter teams that use basically every bounty hunter. As far as I'm aware, it uses most of them. Maybe 1 or 2 aren't used with these teams, but I'm trying to use them in a pretty efficient way. So for instance, the Bossk Embo team, and these are a little unconventional to the meta bounty hunter teams, and that's because if you're going for every bounty hunter, you need to make 3 good teams, not 1 extraordinary team and 2 shit teams, So this is kind of what I'm doing, and so it's not like I'm pouring the best of the best bounty hunters into a single team. It's because I have to kind of even out my roster a little bit, so I gotta do different changes to make it work. And I was And so, yeah, so if you want to do, these are 3 teams if you kind of have all the bounty hunters, except Sign of Jango, of course, because that'll just take 2 years if you're starting an account now. But if you want stronger bounty hunter teams, go for 2, because you're probably going to already have 1 in extra units that you want to build a second one. So go for 2, basically, and choose the stronger units. And there's 3 bounty hunter teams that you can go for if you don't go for the Executor and you decide to fill out your roster. And if you're in Carbonite and you need 6, here's 3. You'll have BAM and then a team, so that's 4. And if you get an Empire team up and running, and the requirements for CLS or just a Rebel team going with like Akbar, like Cara Dune, and some other Rebel units, like R2D2, you could have another team and have like 5-6 teams. You can either go for these units before you go for all the rest of the bounty hunter units, or you can go for them after, or you can do 1 or 2 bounty hunter teams here and then go for this, where this is basically trying to give you a super team, the CLS team, which is really good, and trying to be as efficient as possible, getting there and building a good Empire team. And so what you can do is get the CLS requirement Rebels, and then you use Cara Dune or Akbar, whoever. Cara Dune will probably be easier to unlock Emperor Palpatine. You do that, leads into Emperor Palpatine. You can build a Executor Empire team where you use like Darth Vader, Piet, Fighter Pilot, which you'll need for the Executor later. 7-star those Empire units, get R2D2, and then do the CLS event, and you already have Chewbacca and Han Solo geared up and 7-starred, and you just got to get 3PO and CLS, and that's what I'm kind of going to do after I do Executor, which is like, I kind of wish I did this, because this would have, both of these, if I did this previous slide and this slide, they both lead into the Executor naturally through just building up your roster. I could have decided to get this Empire team to gear 12, or I could have decided to get Darth Vader gear 12, Piet gear 11, some Fighter gear 11, gear 12 Palpatine, gear 9, gear 11, 12 Mara Jade, like whatever I wanted, and it would have been just good, and later would lead into the Executor. And then you have this amazing CLS team, which you can later replace R2 with C-3PO, but it's just a good starting point. And then you also have this BAM team down here that I put, where you should probably get L337, just a really good tank to be used with this team. And instead of Cara Dune, you could get Enfi's Nest, as a lot of people do. Or if you want to put Jango in there, like I said before, you can get Bo-Katan. This just allows you to have a few pretty good teams, And the thing is like, the only units you're probably going to leave as is the CLS requirement unit. That's it. Yeah, that's the end. And I'll have a link to this PowerPoint in the description, so if you want to go over it yourself, or you just want to look at it and follow it as a helpful resource. I hope this is helpful, and please like, comment, and subscribe. Try to grow the channel out. Trying to hit 50 subscribers. It's such a low number when I hear like AP Games be like trying to hit 20k or this many, but if you want more content like this, where I kind of get into the off-meta and interesting side of Galaxy of Heroes that no one really talks about, because everyone's, what's the next best Ben Solo, all this different stuff that's kind of out of the reach for players like me, and also I'm not interested in stuff like that. I'm interested in stuff that's more bounty hunters, scoundrels, like characters that get less screen time. And if you're interested in that too, subscribe. I'll have more content like this coming out soon, and peace.